As Bitcoin ascends into the literal stratosphere, we have but one thing to say. Liquidate the non-believers. Bitcoin halving 2020, be your own bank. Sound money equals sound society is unconfiscatable. Let us begin with today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin.
I'm Samson Mo from Blockstream, and you're watching Breaking Bitcoin.
Welcome back to Breaking Bitcoin. We are live every day at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, your daily source for everything cryptocurrency, markets, and finance. I'm your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst at CrackingCrypotcurrency.com. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today. What a day. Never a more exciting time to be alive or a trader or involved in the cryptocurrency market. So much to talk about. Before we begin, of course, there has never been a better time to join our community and start building your own trading system. You can take advantage if you join us of our proprietary indicators like Minx and time transformation, Quadriga ATR, community mentoring sessions, premium trading signals, and our suite of educational material and courses. For more information, there is a link down in the description. Premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com is also where you can point your browsers to for more information to see everything that we have to offer. That's premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. With that being said, I mean, what possibly more can be said about the markets? Well, so much, because I'm going to say so much about the markets today because, hey, that's kind of my job. That's what I'm going to do. Obviously, Bitcoin up about 12% on the daily. The rest of the USDT pairs pumping as well. Most of the BTC pairs shedding their skins as they are wont to do. Although we'll look at some interesting correlations later on of how we actually saw some some pre-market pumps coming in from the alt pairs as well. Of course, traditional markets having a relatively strong day today. And of course, the activity and volatility in the FOREX pairs continue. So it's a very exciting day. Although traditional equities did cool off last night, all of the three major indices closed last night into the red. The Dow, the SPY, and the Qs. They did open up strong today on good momentum, right? Now, what's interesting is that volumes were significantly decreased last night before the pump. That occurred around, I'm going to say around 11 o'clock p.m. my time. The initial pump just started happening as I was getting ready to go to bed last night and has carried forward into this morning. And I remember, if you guys were watching the lower time frame charts, right around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock my time, Bitcoin was just consolidating, moving in this tight range, consolidating its highs, which is typically bullish. And then it put in this big candle to the upside, right, on the lower time frames. And then if you look at the 15-minute chart, it immediately reversed and sold off. And I remember the sentiment in Discord and coming in on the messages that this is the moment. This is when Bitcoin is going to reverse. And several individuals that I talked to were like, all right, this is the time. I'm going to get short. And of course, I've been long for quite some time. Since the end of last week, and continue to hold my position because my system did not invalidate the long position, and therefore I get to reap the rewards of this movement today. The entire breadth of this movement today, I get to reap those rewards, right? Now, what was interesting is that prior to this, volume contracted, right? Last night to about 31 billion, and the overall market cap, though, really didn't budge, right? Overall market cap stayed steady, about 220 billion last night. Now, one thing that I'm interested in, now, this is going to get some boos or some cheers, depending on what side of the argument you're on, but it's interesting correlation to look at. One thing I'm interested in looking at is Bitcoin Cash and its descent, right? Now, Bitcoin Cash, it too had a run up, not anything like Bitcoin really, up to its halving event. And immediately afterwards, it has been in a downward spiral that is still progressing till today. So the question on my mind is this germane to look at, right? Can we expect a similar movement from Bitcoin, or is this just the phenomenon simply because Bitcoin Cash immediately almost became unprofitable to mine for the majority of miners, who then jumped over to mine on the Bitcoin network because they were going to be getting a relatively larger block reward for solving blocks. So it was more profitable for them to mine on the Bitcoin network. So since when Bitcoin has its halving, there's no other place that's more profitable for miners to go to mine. Will there not be the same kind of downwards momentum pressure on Bitcoin as there currently is on BCH, which, as I said, is unprofitable. So miners have to sell their excess coins just to be able to break even. And this is, I think, contributing, of course, to the downwards pressure that we can see on BCH. Of course, the other common analogy of this would be, listen, the Bitcoin halving is awesome, but it will have a pullback. We'll have a fairly dramatic pullback. The world economy is going going to have a fairly dramatic pullback. And once the hype cycle is cooled off and this is all gone, there won't really be the new generating hype cycle to keep its way in price. But of course, that is kind of fighting and struggling against the fundamental bullishness of Bitcoin, which is the idea that it will decouple from traditional markets. That if and when traditional markets begin the next leg of a downwards movement due to a global recession brought on by this coronavirus pandemic, that Bitcoin will actually decouple like gold and move up even in a deflationary economic event such as a pandemic and global recession, which is a deflationary event, not an inflationary event. So definitely things to consider, definitely things to think about, and think about the next time that you're running a nice hot bath. Now, one really interesting thing also is to note those large altcoin pumps that we saw leading up to the Bitcoin movement today, namely Cardano, XRP, and TRX, right? And what kind of correlation, like who wanted to be sitting, who did all this market buying of ADA, XRP, and TRX, pushing the price up with these big, huge, dramatic green candles, only to have most of those movements being sold down into today, as is kind of the name brand of how these markets work, how the crypto markets work. When BTC USD gets a massive movement to the upside, alt BTC pairs dump, and then later on, if BTC ends up retracing from its movement to the upside, they dump even harder. This is the way that it works. And it's almost like when we're talking like the decoupling event, right? You know, the altcoins are the S&P 500 and Bitcoin is Bitcoin, right? So the correlation there is interesting. Having said that, I do want to say, of course, that our new automated strategy called Cybot is now running. It's running on Bitcoin on multiple timeframes. It posted its first 2 signals this morning, and both those signals have now completed successfully at the target level. The first trade generating about 4% profit, the second trade generating about 6% profit on top of the manual signals provided by our analysts to members of our premium trading community. So overall, things are doing quite well. We have just recently, what we're working on right now is adding major USDT pairs, about 20 of them on Binance Margin, to the Cybot. So it will be actually signaling across Bitcoin, so XBT USD, which is where we're currently running it. But of course, you can trade that on the BTC market of your choice. The liquidity is the same. The take profits will be the same. So you can run that on ByBit. You can run that on Binance Margin. You can run that on FTX, whatever you prefer. We're just running it on XBT USD. We'll be adding FUSD on BitMEX, XRP USD on BitMEX, and then, as I said, the USDT pairs on Binance. And then we'll have a separate bot next week that I'm hoping to have done by next week, just finishing up the final debugging right now to get all the Ethereum pairs, not all of the Ethereum pairs, but the major BTC pairs on Binance, as well as some Ethereum pairs and some BNB pairs. So overall, it'll be fairly robust. And then depending on user demand, we'll add the supported markets for our bots later on after that. So if you guys want to check those out, of course, the link is down in the description to join the movement. With that being said, so much to say about the markets. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. The moderators will bring them to my attention. As I said, hopefully you guys are doing fantastic. We've got some news to break down. I do have some information on the XRP movement preceding Bitcoin's movement. Of course, XRP is largely sold back down, but I'll cover that for the XRP fans in the house, and then we'll get right to the markets for today's market analysis, because there is so much to talk about. Of course, if you are new to the channel or if you've been here 1,000 times, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It does help us keep doing what we are doing, bringing this information to you every single day. And with that being said, let's get going. Where is my mouse? I found it. Okay, that's not quite right. Just when you think you got it all figured out. All right, so Bitcoin's big movement early this morning was potentially in some minds slightly overshadowed by another pretty high cap cryptocurrency. And it's one that you don't really typically expect to put in gains like 9% in a course of 24 hours. And that, of course, is XRP, Ripple, right? So yeah, yes, I hear the booze. I get it. But we got to cover it, right? We've got to cover it. All right, now, taking a look at what could possibly be behind the movement, our research likely indicates that the biggest contributing factor is going to be coming out of Japan. with the country's second largest bank, the Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group, or just, SMFG, announcing that they've taken a stake in SBI Holdings. For those of you guys who don't know, SBI Holdings is kind of a big deal in order to bring digital banking services to users, mainly focusing on mobile users, which, of course, as we've covered, Asian markets have a very higher proportion of individuals utilizing online banking services as opposed to the United States or other countries. They're the leading in online banking via mobile device. Now, SBI Holdings is a longtime major Ripple partner in Japan. Right? It was one of their Series C investors in Ripple's funding rounds. Now, the speculation currently is fairly rife that this collaboration between Japanese bank and SBI Holdings is going to see the utilization of XRP in SMFG's future digital banking offerings, but they have not confirmed anything as of yet. Now, meanwhile, SBI Holdings also announced earlier today a dividend distribution plan to be paid out in ZERP to their shareholders. Okay. Now, SMFG is actually acquiring a 20% stake in SBI's new operation called Neo Mobile Services, right? And that's a brokerage unit of SBI that is going to be entirely focused on the mobile device space, right? The mobile device accessing this banking functionality and brokerage functionality with your mobile device, right? Now, SMFG currently lacks any kind of significant online or mobile presence, right? They're a brick and mortar kind of institution, traditional institution, B2B institution. But SBI wants to add brick and mortar operations to their operations to give their customers face-to-face services as part of the desired product lineup, right? Therefore, this move is pretty mutually beneficial to these two institutions that move so much money. Now, this deal is going to combine or the entire actually nationwide network, the entire physical branch network of SMFG with SBI's presence in online trading. SBI has a large presence in online trading as a brokerage, right? It is expected that, I think this is probably going to help both institutions create both products and services that, individuals of my generation or your generation are going to really enjoy or utilize, whether or not they enjoy them, right? So enjoy trading when you make money, and you do not enjoy money when you lose it, right? Now, the two firms are going to be focusing on the development of a 100 billion yen, that's $930 million fund in American dollars, to be invested in companies that want to work with digital technologies. And that includes fintech companies, blockchain companies, and 5G networks. What's that? Boiling skin? Looking at the Japanese markets. Now, what's interesting is that they were apparently very welcoming of this information and news, right? SBI holding stock is up 4% at as current time of reporting, while the entire Nikkei index was largely flat, meaning that it wasn't just moving up with the rest of the index, it was actually moving up on its own accord, right? Now, along with SBI Holdings, announcement of the shareholder benefits plan, the shareholder benefits plan that SBI announced, Japanese investors are pretty excited to hold SBI stock, with details being released today how shareholders of SBI stock will be able to receive this benefit payout by using a coupon code that will unlock these XRP tokens, this whole XRP dividend distribution program that we were talking about earlier. Now, altogether, between the shareholder benefits that SBI is offering being paid out in XRP, together with their focus on digital finance going forward and their partnership with SMFG, this kind of provides us some insight into what this company's future is going to be, what SBI Holdings is going to be focusing on as innovating, and they're going to be innovating in the direction of the latest in cryptocurrency or blockchain or digital trends, right? So strongly moving in this direction, right? Now, crypto markets apparently took this all as very bullish news as well. And this saw XRP, Ripple's native token, blowing through some pretty levels. I mean, XRP's price has not been very, very exciting to watch, but blowing past 20 cents, which some support and resistance analysts say was an important level. No such levels generally aren't really important unless they're predicated by volume, but I digress. Right now, Ripple's currently trading at about 22 cents, or at least it was as of this morning. And it's coming off of 8 consecutive daily green candles. And even with a pullback expected from current levels, which of course is going to happen, brought on by BTC's movement, things are overall, I would say, looking positive in Ripple, unless, again, you want to be contrary and assume this as a kind of buy the rumor, sell the news event, which is almost, kind of exactly what's going on. The rumor's been going on for 7 days, but this was announced. This has been a known, right? This has been a known. But not super. Listen, I just want to take this moment that my feelings about XRP are known, right? However, right, I'll talk about it as just plain blank how the industry treats the token, how the industry treats it, and anything is obviously a tradable asset, right? XRP, I trade XRP. Everybody trades XRP. It doesn't really matter how you feel about it. And also, we talk about fintech and blockchain and all this stuff a lot. We just recently talked about this is, listen, this is a kind of a good, good segue, right? Because I wanted to talk about this earlier, right? And this doesn't really have anything to do with this XRP story, but, I generally don't respond. Well, that's not true. I always respond to my comments, right? But I usually don't respond like on the show. But, recently we did a video about Bill Gates and not really Bill Gates. We did the Bill Gates story, but the story about Microsoft developing these body sensor blockchain, right? And I got a pretty overwhelming, I got an overwhelmingly positive response from everybody for the video, but some individuals were saying that, I was missing the point, and this is absolutely evil and going to lead to the destruction of everything, right? And while that may or may not be true, I do want to say that my default philosophy on these things is not very doom and gloom. I'm a very positive individual. I don't believe that technology, because it's not. Technology is not moral, right? The laws of physics are not moral, right? The laws of chemistry are not moral, right? This computer that is broadcasting this stream to you is not moral, right? Morality only exists in the minds and perceptions of individuals that utilize them, right? And this is why we argue and sometimes go to war over what the best philosophical or mental models are of society or economics or freedom or liberty, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I believe that by the dint of being conscious and alive, human beings are endowed with certain inalienable rights, which is generally the right to be free, the right to do as you will if you're not harming anybody else, the right to pursue happiness, and the general, if I didn't cover this already, the general sanctitude, the general value of your own life as it exists, right? While I do not believe that individuals are entitled to anything by dint of them drawing breath, you are entitled to pursue your own life and your survival, and you're not, nobody has the right to endanger your life or your pursuit for survival or prosperity whatsoever, right? And our entire movement forward as a society, technologically, is to get to a point where we can transcend barbarity, right? And I think every kind of technological leap and boundary helps get us there. Now, although we are in a very interesting point in time where the technology that we've created, which, by the way, is not moral. Remember, technological innovations are not moral, right? The intention or purposes behind funding the development for certain technologies can be moral in nature, right? Individuals can have malicious intents when they set out to design a technology, but the invention itself is not moral. The invention, the technology, can be used for good or for ill, relative to what you believe good or ill is. Now, in general, I think that morality is actually pretty simple. Human beings know at a default level what is good and what is bad. And if you don't know what is good or what is bad, largely that is a fault of your upbringing. Perhaps one is broken, but you can pretty easily see, everybody knows, like, at a default level, like, what is good and what is ill, right? And so I think that often we can get far too complicated when we talk about what is good and what is bad. So, without getting off too much into the weeds, right? The idea, particularly speaking about those body sensor things, right? Certainly, right? Because the assertion that they're going to be utilized to insert vaccines in individuals and that they're going to track and monitor and be used by a totalitarian government, they can be. Yes, that technology could certainly be utilized toward that goal or toward that aim. And it's our job as participants of this agreement that we have in a society to push against that, to be aware and to fight very firmly anybody who would attempt to incorporate that type of totalitarianism upon us unwillingly, right? That is our entire purpose for doing a show like this, for speaking to each other on the internet, for coming together as a community, for sharing our thoughts and ideas and promoting prosperity and freedom, is so that we can be aware and avoid those situations. However, coming down on a technological innovation that generates energy via body motion, I think is silly, because that technology can be used for good. So if you walked into your job and your boss said, "Hey, what's up, man? Welcome to your job. How you doing? Very nice to meet you. We do have this pretty cool program right here where if you put on this little vest while you work, it generates electricity and blockchain data, helps us verify data for our company's shipping and tracking blockchain. And if you do that, I mean, you don't have to, it's not required, but if you put this vest on, just moving around the office generates blockchain confirmation. And as a reward for doing that, we put a little bit of extra money into your paycheck." That, I don't care who you are, that is a cool technological innovation. And you're lying if you're saying that, hey, for $50 a week, I'm gonna put that vest on. Now, equally as cool as that innovation is, that technology can certainly be used in the hands of a totalitarian government to do whatever ill purposes you want. Insert malicious vaccines into your body, or track your data for law enforcement, to track political dissent. But having said that, I wanted to say that technology is neither good nor evil. It is human beings at the end of the day who are the only conscious entities who are observing the action to give a moral judgment thereof. And personally, I think that the idea of tracking motion via body sensors is actually pretty cool. Everybody uses that pretty much every day, gamers with VR. And it's a fantastic innovation. And that kind of data, that kind of technological process will be necessary moving forward. It is our job to fight against the misapplication of those technologies by communicating like this. So I appreciate the comments and I appreciate you guys communicating like that, but put your efforts toward the right method. Put your efforts forward in the right way of doing everything that you can to educate. Remember, this is the kind of order of being able to influence the universe, right? You have ideas in your head, you have desires of how you want to make the world be, but you can't just let them sit in your head. You have to get them out. But if you just run out and scream into YouTube comment section or on Reddit or Discord or Twitter, you're not going to accomplish anything. You have to start by, as difficult as it is, you have to start by first making yourself presentable and on point so that anybody listening to you will respect you enough to believe your message and hear your message. Secondly, you need to organize your life so that your friends and family and local circle are all moving you toward executing your agenda, right? If you are a square cog in a round wheel and everybody around you, including your family, including your friends and your job, is all antithetical to where you are trying to move forward in life, you need to fundamentally change the way that you're living, or you are going to go to the grave fundamentally unhappy. You need to be brave. This is your only one life. You only get one chance to live life, right? In fact, the universe might only get one chance to be in this interesting state of like low entropy to high entropy, where actually fun existing things can exist, like waterfalls and heartbeats and kisses and all kinds of cool things. So definitely embrace your one life and make it as awesome as you can. So start by improving yourself, then improve your friends and family, or your choice of friends and family, then try to improve your local community, and then you can actually influence the world. By the way, this is the same track record that that these politicians and large influencers that most people just kind of like, oh, these evil dudes over here, this and that. That's the same track record that they follow. They get and now they have actually political and national influence, right? Their decisions, their words, their actions move nations, move wallets, move corporations, move all these things. Because generally, avoiding misintent, they start by getting themselves in order, getting their life in order, getting their local actions in order, and then, hey, they run for president, right? And usually they lose because, you got to be like Bilderberger and like, Skull and Bones and all that stuff. But still, even people that run for president and fail now get to go on CNN, make a pretty good living just being like, yeah, don't like that dude. So, hey, that's always in your future. With that being said, what's our next story of the day? Set all out with about XRP. So please let me know your comments in the section down below about XRP. Are you guys excited about that? Do you guys think anything big is going to come out of that? I actually think that is, we don't want to import the importance of that, right? Now, this latest report about DeFi, we cover DeFi a lot and then we get into the market. So now, this is a new article from Cointelegraph, and one of their reporters spoke to the co-founder and president of the crypto custody firm Anchorage, right? And that person's name was Diogo Monica. Yeah. So Anchorage. And, they were interested in talking about how, DeFi is obviously growing in popularity and how that is affecting the custody industry. Like one of the big things about cryptocurrency and obviously the massive demand, we covered this not too long ago, where, ETHE, investors in Grayscale Ethereum, were paying a 400% premium just so that they could have exposure to Ethereum and not have to deal with physical custody. So custody is obviously in very, very high demand from institutional investors. As annoying as it is, eventually this will change, and not all firms are like this. Like large institutional investors just don't want to learn how to, and it's so easy to do. Like they can just set up a firm to build them up a cold storage solution, right? But they can just hit up BitPay. There's considerations for that, but now, according to this representative, the increasing complexity of DeFi is exposing the inadequacies of cold storage custody and manual human operations when it comes to individual humans actually manually holding DeFi cold storage down, so holding decentralized assets down for these decentralized protocols, right? Now, describing the growing risks to crypto users due to the current array of on-chain actions needed by most DeFi protocols, because it's not just as simple as one smart contract. You're often talking about complex webs of dozens of smart contracts operating in unison across the entire Ethereum network. Right now, saying that they've seen support for maker governance, the voting in an executive fashion, and the polling that users of decentralized finance want and often need to participate in on-chain activities kind of being uncovered as being inefficient, like at least the cold storage solutions like this. And there's lots of new protocols always increasingly require new and emerging protocols constantly coming out, which are requiring active use of private keys on a regular basis, right? Just to run all of these smart contracts. And because of that, if you're a custodian for somebody's cryptocurrency, you're having to put more and more trust in untested smart contracts because there is a lot of demand from the client side for you to do such a thing, because there is a lot, every time there's something new on the Ethereum blockchain, generally, if you're involved in decentralized finance, then you want to be interacting with that new protocol, right? Like the popularity of Compound and Ray is not to be understated. One second. Okay. It is not to be understated. So, the entire point of all of this is just to say that, according to Anchorage, this article's main point is that according to Anchorage, they are being overwhelmed, and most DeFi custodians are being overwhelmed by the rapid desire from investors to interact with these new smart contracts and kind of the precarious situation. Now, we just covered recently the DeForce hacks and previously about 3 other DeFi hacks. So that's become a very hot target. So in general, just my overall opinion of this is kind of the same general warning that I've given for quite a while, which is that I'm absolutely very supportive of the concept of decentralized finance, even though there is an argument to be said that the entire idea of interest in loans is attempting to apply modern monetary theory to Bitcoin, which, in my opinion, Bitcoin is a stark example of hard, sound commodity money. And even though Bitcoin in and of itself is not really the argument against, listen, we could be here for a couple hours if we wanted to argue whether or not Bitcoin is a commodity money or not. But having said that, right, the entire thing, my entire point with this is that I am very, very supportive of Ethereum and development and movements down this fashion and improvements on smart protocols and smart contracts and all of this stuff. But it's just a word of warning, right? It's not as sweet as people think that it is right now. It's still very experimental, and I know individuals are putting millions of dollars into these things, and I just want them to be careful. There are ways to support networks without putting yourself at massive substantial risks, because if any of these smart contracts fail, or if there's a failure in the protocol, you are, and it has happened before, right? Just look at the Ethereum Classic split. Now, in that situation, the Ethereum Foundation took executive control of the network and rewrote the blockchain. They did a rollback, right? And that is not something that I necessarily agree with, right? Ethereum Classic, code is law, and Ethereum what is now the main Ethereum blockchain, apparently consensus is lost. So that's similar to Bitcoin as well, but maybe we just test better over here. I'm not sure. But just be safe out there, guys. A lot of cool, exciting things in the world of DeFi. A lot of things that I interact with myself. But there are ways to do that with less risk. And again, we have to understand that if you are utilizing a third party for your custody as well, then this gets even more complicated, particularly for storing private key materials, right? Particularly for storing private key materials. So with that being said, guys, please let me know your guys' thoughts and comments in the section down below. And let's finally get to the markets because there's just so much to talk about. I want to get into that. All right. Give me 1 sec. I'm actually going to throw the latest version on here so I can show you guys. Cool. There we go. All right, cool. I wanted to throw the version that we're actually running live. Okay, so anyways, here we are on BTC/USD. We'll start off with the daily perspective, then we'll get down into what the bot is doing on the meso timeframes. Anyways, here on the daily. We have a obviously massive move from Bitcoin, currently up about 13%, just continues to push every time individuals think this is the moment to short. And I feel, it's days like these that you have to really feel bad for reversal traders, right? For reversal traders, because I don't trade reversals. I think that trading reversals is foolish because movements like this are so much more profitable and they're more consistent, right? Now, obviously, we don't get these massive pumps all of the time, right? But Bitcoin is known for these things. And everybody was attempting to short at a day when, at a time. And yes, I mean, granted, right? Yesterday, my consensus was that if we broach past the $8,000 level, we're going to accelerate with high velocity. That is what that resistance level entails. And I maintained my long, right? The last few days, and it always gets like this, right? When price gets, low volatility, everybody kind of screams for reversal. But in this case, they were proven wrong. So here we are on the daily. Let's start off and keep things very simple by first looking at the baseline. Price is currently trading above the baseline as it has been for almost the entirety of its break up here back at the end of March. It's been trading above the baseline and been in a bullish posture, meaning in a bullish trend, meaning that one should not be trading short to the short side. One should only be looking to only trade to the long side. Only. You don't trade shorts when price is above the baseline, right? And you can just see statistically, right? There is no point in, it makes more sense to ignore the movements down and view those as re-entry signals and not trade against the dominant trend because the odds are not in your favor. When price is bullish, price is statistically more likely to move up. When price is bearish, price is statistically more likely to move down. So if price is statistically more likely to move up, why would you be in a situation where if price moves up, you lose money? It makes no sense, right? Very similarly, if price is bearish, why are you going long? If price is below the baseline, it doesn't matter the type of bottom that you think you can catch. We have an automated strategy for that, right? You are not an automated strategy. You can run the automated strategy. It's called Bottom Feeder. It is available to our premium clients, but it is very specific and very nuanced, and it grabs very short, very important opportunities, right? But anyways, obviously beautiful movement out of the daily time frame for Bitcoin. Now, per my trading system, I am not going to be recommending entries on today's daily close. I mean, we are very far above the qualifier line, very far above an entry level. And so we're just not poised in a very good risk to reward area to be looking for at this point in time. This is what LARPing traders, this is what like fake traders who like, like other traders who have like, really crappy Telegram channels or have really crappy shows here on YouTube that, don't show their face. Those kind of people are going to be calling for, okay, we got stopped out on our short. We're entering into a momentum long. You guys know who I'm talking about. This is absolutely the wrong time to be doing that, okay? Not because it's impossible that price continues to move up, but because from a statistical perspective of trading, the risk to reward ratio is just simply not there, right? As much as price is bullish is determined by whether, in my analysis, is whether or not it is above or below the baseline. The distance away from the baseline is also something to be considered, right? Because reversion to the mean is a true strategy, right? And so very similarly, right? The taller they are, the harder they fall, right? Now, I am not calling for a Bitcoin reversal. I'm simply saying that those in long positions should be enjoying this movement, securing some profit, moving their stop loss up, probably rather, I don't want to say aggressively at this point in time. You definitely want to give this room to breathe if we do end up getting a nice face melting 30 or 40 or 50% movement out of this. But you want to be securing this position and waiting for your next kind of re-entry and continuation, right? All right, so as we can see, looking at before we look at our momentum indicators, let's look at the breaking Bitcoin system. Now, by the way, update to our premium members. Alexander is going to be taking the brunt of daily cryptocurrency signal generations, right? We're moving our time slots around, so it's more convenient for him to do that. So, of course, now currently we have the crypto signals channel where all the senior and junior analyst crypto signals are aggregated into. So just, be aware that he is now running the system that I utilize on the daily time frame to be trading our cryptocurrency signals. I will be still generating the signals for FOREX and ETFs and contracts for difference. And the same signals that I would be calling, Alexander will be calling on the daily. So things are good. And of course, he has his own unique take, his own unique analysis as well. So that's actually quite refreshing and quite good. And of course, very, very good, talented trader in his own right. All right. Meanwhile, what I'll be doing is also improving the automated signals that we're getting. And of course, coming out of the sidebot today, one can hardly complain. And especially when we get the other markets plugged into that. All right. Bob the Builder says, guys, I unhedged when PTP told me to, and I am up so much right now. There are tears of joy in my eyes right now. I love you, my brother. They are manly, joyful tears. Okay. So as we can see, the continuation signal was generated by the breaking Bitcoin system over here on the 23rd of April. This is actually when we entered into the trade initially. Yes, if I recall correctly. After a little bit of fake out down here at the daily baseline, right? And that's resulted in me putting on a hedge right on the close of this candle and unhedging on this daily close above. So very simple, right? Attempting, predicting, being safe as we closed actually below the actual baseline, not below the channel, but below the actual baseline. Now, whether or not you wait for hedging, right? So not for trading purposes, but for hedging, waiting for the close below or the close above, it largely washes out because of the size of movements. But I just use the actual static baseline for purposes of hedging. But for purposes of trading, for full risk, I want to see price above or below that channel. Helps act as a nice filter. As we continue to just keep pumping. So again, the very first thing that I want to say is that if you're in long positions, right, enjoy the ride, guys. Enjoy the ride. Secure some profit. This is a fantastic time to secure a little profit. Move your stop loss up so that your trade is in a no loss situation, right? You can move it to break even, or you can move it to like your first take profit or 50% of the movement, depending on where you entered and where you initially took profit or where you initially wanted to take profit. No need to get super aggressive right now. We can see some more movement out of this and wait, right? Now, everybody wants to get the absolute best short entry, if Bitcoin's price is going to reverse here. And I urge you guys to not do that, to not think like that, to not trade like that, because that is not a good way to trade, right? Again, there are going to be traders who are successful at that, but they are very few and far between, right? The traders who come in to our community and that we teach to be trend following traders have a higher probability of having consistently profitable results because they're trading in the direction of the trend and they're waiting for confirmation to enter into a positional direction, right? It doesn't matter if you catch the bottom or catch the top. That is for reversal traders, and they have a very high failure rate, right? Trend following traders have a much lower failure rate. Let's put it that way, right? All right. Come on, just listen, if we crack 9,000 on stream, yes, we're going to do the meme, right? We're going to do the meme. Yes, we will. All right. So overall, things are looking good. Very powerful candle on the daily coming out of Wada Atari explosion. Parallax moving to the upside. So Parallax being our momentum confirmation indicator, it monitors the divergence between the relative strength index and the commodity channel index. This is bullish, indicating that we can expect to continue to see a bullish price appreciation. And it's not until this line crosses below zero that we begin to expect negative or bearish price appreciation. Not to say we can't have pullbacks, right? It's not predictive in that sense. But when Parallax is below zero, of course, we are in a bearish trend per Parallax, right? And then, of course, we wait for the confirmation of all of these things. Minx itself, if we look at what Minx is doing, Minx has broached above our overbought level, has not crossed under, has not given us the reversal exit signal or the take profit signal. And I was wise, as you guys will recall, we got the take profit signal on a Sunday, which I ignored back over here. The take profit long signal I ignored on Sunday, and I'm very glad that I did so, right? Kept the long exposure open. We're going to be getting, listen, golden hair for everybody. Golden hair for everybody. All right, with that being said, let's take a look at Ethereum before we start diving down into the meso trends. Ethereum on the daily looks very healthy as well. A very nice bullish appreciation coming out of Ethereum today as well. All right, strongly above the baseline, actually farther above the baseline than Bitcoin was. We've gotten several, the last continuation long signal we got from Minx was over here on the 23rd. We've had some good follow through from that. We got a continuation long signal on the 16th of April, so multiple entries. Let's see, when did that? I'm not sure. I think that was a weekend signal as well, but we'll just have to kind of double back and check. So above the baseline, looking at the breaking Bitcoin system, overall price is good. Oh, that's bottom feeder, excuse me. Here we go. So the initial continuation signal would have been back here on the 16th, and we actually got confirmation on the 17th, and price has not given us an exit following through from that. So price has overall been very good. Wada confirmation, Parallax confirmation, Minx confirmation, baseline confirmation, all the confirmations you could possibly want. And we're having a very nice, of course, positive price appreciation. Now, continuation long signal on Minx. Now, again, that would be a signal I ignore because we are just too far overextended, right? Too far overextended for a safe positive entry into Ethereum at this point in time, right? So again, daily traders, the way that I trade anyways, you have to be very vigilant because if you miss the entry, there are only so many candles at which you can safely actually enter following that trade. So all right, so let's look down at let's actually look at an automated reversal strategy right here, okay? So as we can see, this is the ISIS spot, the one that I'm currently will be utilizing for signal generation. This one should be done by next week. Calls a reversal here, and do we have movement to the downside? Yes, about 0.62. And this one, actually, we do get that 1% movement right there, right at near the bottom of that wick. And that's what this one is designed to do. This is a lower time frame, always looking for a consistent small amount of profit. Here we go. It does it again, calling for a reversal right here. And what do you know? We get a 2.65% dump out of that while Bitcoin is relatively bullish. And let's see if it gets its face smashed in somewhere. And yes, it's not perfect. Certainly does call for that oversold movement right here, and it gets stopped out relatively quickly, right? So you can see how well it trades the range here, also calls a good one here, calls a great one here, calls a good one here. So that's what that is going to do. That's how that is designed to operate. Now looking at the lower time frames right now, we can see that it's not yet calling for that reversal trade yet at this point in time. So once bitten, twice shy. Now on the 2 hour, so this signal actually went out to our premium members today. Here's the 2 hour chart right here. This is the SIBOT calling for signaling the buy right here. And you can see the take profit being hit on this candle right here. And then we also have this running on the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, it's going to wait to actually generate with the indicator when this 4 hour candle closes. But the 4 hour also got the 4 hour buy signal right here and taking profit right here. That trade is already done. When this 4 hour candle closes, a signal will appear very similar to this little baby flag right there, letting you know that a take profit has occurred. So this is the SIBOT is working quite well. It is long and short, and it is currently working on the Bitcoin USD pairs, XBT USD on BitMEX to be precise. And next week it'll be running on FUSD, XRP USD, as well as the major Binance USDT pairs as well on Binance margin. So long and short on both pairs. And, I want to thank everybody that's really helped contribute to that. They're mentioned in the credits, obviously, just everybody on my team. And I'm not going to say your names individually because I don't want people hitting you up and bugging you all the time. But you guys know who you are. All of you guys have been absolutely invaluable in helping get all of these continued products that we can offer out the door. And you guys are just absolutely amazing. So thank you guys. Everybody on the team, thank you for all your hard work. It's not easy. There are so many websites and shillsters out there and wannabe traders and wannabe coders who make curve fit garbage, don't actually work in reality strategies, who don't understand how to test, who don't understand how to do statistics, who don't understand how to get good data or to interpret good data or to simulate good data or to forward test or backwards test. But that's the strength of our community. And I just appreciate all of the team members who helped contribute this, to run the data properly, to do the position sizing, to do the pass A test, to do the pass B test, to do the forward testing. And thank you guys. Highly appreciate it. Looking at Bitcoin on the Renko chart, Renko would have given you a signal back here on the 26th, progressing upwards quite nicely. Continuation long signal here and parallax confirmation on this candle, and you actually could have held that trade open. So pretty good. You actually could have been long on this from the 23rd, and you would still be in that trade. All right, looking at the CME futures, of course, we have this is a slight delay, but we have fully filled the gap. We have run all the way up to the top of the gap. So yes, this is a logical area for a pullback. Speaking natively, if we expect this gap to be kind of significant, obviously you could refer to the bottom of this gap coming in about 82.80 for that level to actually hold as support. To expect us to kind of fill this range and consolidate in this range. If we consolidate in this range, I would view that as actually quite bullish. Anytime we accumulate or consolidate near resistance, that is often bullish, right? And we don't really have any large movements. Now, whereas, typically if you get swift rejection from an area, well, that's swift rejection and you expect to really not go back up there and you expect price to continue moving to the downside. But if you just chill out in an area and consolidate, well, it means that selling pressure isn't very strong. The power and strength of Bitcoin. All right, so we've covered the lower time frames, we've covered the meso time frames, we've covered the daily time frames on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's go over to our volume profile analysis. and get a macro picture of Bitcoin on the weekly. Now, the CME gap is important, but it's not the only thing that's going on in the realm of Bitcoin, right? So here is the macro volume profile analysis. Of course, the last update that I gave to the members in my market analysis was that overall, this had changed from neutral to bullish as we had closed the weekly above the yellow box territory. And as I've said many, many times, my perspective is that we have this level of resistance. We had this level of resistance between 8,000 and 8,200, right? We have now broken that level. And once that level is broken, we should rapidly accelerate to the top of this red box territory to fill it and sweep the top here. Now, that level comes in between 10,000 and 10,200, right? Doesn't mean, when I say accelerate, doesn't mean we're going to go there in one day, although we certainly can. I think that is highly unlikely. I think that what is likely is that we pull back, test 8,200 or 8,000 for support, consolidate there, and continue our push to the upside. That is what I would like to see. That is what I would be watching for. If we were to fall below the red box territory, then I would look for support between 6,800 and 7,000, which would be kind of our next level back to the yellow box territory, which is not ultimately what I want to see. I want to see good, progressive, continued movement to the upside here. And once we break above 10,200, we have to start statistically, we have to start looking for reversal signals. We have to start looking for a reasonable place to exit while we continue to let our long-term investments hold. In the form of trading, that is going to be an overbought area on Bitcoin, as it has been the last 3 times that we have traded above that level. So as bullish as we are on Bitcoin, that is still an area where we do want to be cautious and look for potential profit taking, right? Not on long-term Bitcoin holdings, but for swing trades particularly. All right, now we can see here on the lower time frames too, this consolidation that we had at today's current point of control around 83.25. And we can see a lot of volume coming in here, which indicates a lot of individuals actually buying. This is a lot of individuals buying the top, probably the worst possible place. And this is something that's been really, interesting to watch. And it's always interesting for me to watch because, starting last night, I have BitMEX Rect alerts, and we have our own Rectisar bot on the Discord, which you guys should go check out. Big shout out to Golk for making that. But as many liquidated shorts that I'm seeing liquidated longs. Like, why are you guys buying the top? Who does that? But 8,300, the 8,300 region does look like a logical area to pull back to if we do end up seeing some selling pressure here. If all potential buyers want to have bought kind of for the current moment in time, getting some nice consolidation there. Let's see. We also have a step down at 81.50. So for those looking to set limit orders, and we are back. Sorry about the delay, guys. Well, I go away for listen. I leave for 5 minutes, and I leave for a minute, and there's a red candle. Come on, can't you guys support this price action? Do I got to do everything around here? Oh man. All right, so let's go to the chat. Let's talk it out, guys. Let's talk it out. Where are you guys at? Be happy to take... Was on the phone. Yep. Oh, there we go. There's a big movement. We got the FOMC. What's that start? What, like, does that start in 25 minutes? I think that starts in 25 minutes. Oh, you know what? Somebody just brought this to my attention. I'm so sorry. Here it is. Zuhair Nakvi. Man. With the $50 tip, my friend. Thank you so much. He says, the grin on your face is worth at least 10 Bitcoin. Made over 20 grand today, thanks to Pathways to Profit. Couldn't thank you enough, Justin. Zuhair, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you so much. That makes me so happy. You know, honestly, I really enjoy my job. And it's not, listen, I'm just telling you guys, it is. I mean, it is. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty cool, right? I got a pretty cool job. But, you know, the path to get here, the road to get here was really hard, right? It takes a lot of self-determination and self-motivation and being the only person accountable to myself to go to bed at 10 o'clock and wake up at 6 o'clock and, do everything that's necessary and organize my life and be open and honest and build good relationships and build support networks. And, it's not easy, like emotionally, physically, to start your own company, to be employed by yourself, to, kind of manage everything yourself, and obviously to trade, right? To trade the markets on top of that, right? So I'm really proud of everybody who's able to pull that off and who has success in the markets, because I am the same way. I've been there. I've been through all the processes. I make my living by trading, and it's just awesome to have the good days, because it's like work hard, play hard, right? We work hard to get here, and we enjoy the rewards, and we stay calm, cool, and collected as we do what we do very well. So that's awesome to hear, man. Congratulations, my friend. Thank you so much for being a member of our community, and I look forward to seeing your continued progress and your example to everybody else. So that's awesome, man. Yeah, Jason makes a good point. Jason says, for anyone out there watching, I found the show just like everyone else on YouTube, joined the group to strengthen my game, worked his way up to analyst, and now he's a professional trader, right? Full-time trader, doable. So that's absolutely true, right? Met Midwest Attempts through the show, came to the group. He stood out as a very passionate, excited trader and very good at, and obviously very naturally talented at what he does. And, he wanted to contribute, wanted to help, and that led to him making sense to him helping out with analysis. And now this is what he does full time. And I'm very proud to know the individual. So again, thanks Midwest for everything that you do. Don Camden says 19,000 by tonight. Oh man. I'll tell you, my Don Camden counter trading system is 100% accurate. So that probably means massive dumping coming. Jake says, where might one set a stop loss after taking profit, or just a mental stop loss for now? Well, the default answer is, of course, just to set it at your break even. That means that if price ends up grossly reversing, then you have taken, then you incur no loss, right? And that is known as putting your trade in a no loss situation, right? So let's say you enter a trade for 1 Bitcoin, right? And price moves up 5%. So you take half a Bitcoin worth of profit, okay? So you have X amount of nominal value of profit already off the table, right? Now, most likely your profits are going to be realized in BTC, because I'm assuming you're trading crypto derivatives, but it's also possible that you're trading spot and your profits are realized in USD. Okay, cool. Then you simply move your stop loss, which right now at the beginning of the trade and up until now taking profit would be below your entry price, meaning that if price goes all the way down and hit your stop loss, you're going to lose money, right? And most likely, depending on where your stop loss is, if your stop loss is closer to your entry price than your take profit, then if you hit your take profit for 50% of your trade and then price reverses and hits your stop loss, you will still make money. On the other hand, if your stop loss is farther away than your first take profit, and if price goes and hits your first take profit and then reverses and goes all the way down to your stop loss, even though you had a successful take profit, you will still now lose money, right? This is pretty simple to represent mathematically. So my recommendation is after you have taken some initial profit to put your trade into a no loss situation. And the reason why is to beat that kind of greed monkey that kind of sits on your back, right? Because it's okay to not make as much as you wanted to on a trade, right? A win is a win, right? And if you can stack those consistent wins up and keep your losses small, that is the mathematics behind being consistently profitable. Don Candon posted screenshots in the premium group of his bot that counter trades my signal since 1995. And it has never lost. Yeah, that greed monkey's he's tough. Somebody asked about that earlier. The weekly chart of Bitcoin. That's why. Apologies. Well, I'll tell you what, the weekly chart, this is something. So the reversal signals on Minx on the weekly have almost never been wrong. So the last weekly signals, here's a weekly reversal, here's a weekly reversal, here's a weekly reversal, here's the weekly reversal short, and here's the weekly reversal long. So these have almost never been wrong. Trending, I really do prefer to trade the daily, as I just feel that Bitcoin moves so volatilely on the weekly. However, you can certainly trade it. You can certainly trade it. Now, having said that, let's just drill in here. Let's just get our magnifying glasses on. See what's going on. All right, so we actually had the long signal at the last weekly close. And I have my channel length sped up on WADA, so let's... Okay, so we're getting it now. my honest opinion is that I think, based off of this weekly chart, we are going to see 10,200 before we see price below 8,000 again. That's what I would have to believe statistically, meaning that there is some weight behind that Minx trending long signal, right? Behind that Minx trending long signal. The default WADA settings are there. Parallax is not quite there, but we want to tune to the setting. Now, Minx is very versatile. Those settings pretty much work good on any time frame. So they actually are working quite well here on the weekly. Again, even you can see where we get barraged by sell signals. They're actually really good. This one actually, this one is not a good one, but this one is. And here's the Minx long signal, pretty much at the very bottom. We do have a pullback before the movement to the upside. And Minx long signal right here for this last pump, catching that movement in 2008. And of course, Minx did catch the top on the weekly back in 2017. But yeah. Now, I am certainly willing to be wrong on that, but just looking at this chart and weighing the statistical probabilities from what I've seen and my experience, I think that it is more likely I'm going to be, truer to my former self, that we move to the upside here and accelerate through this level of acceleration and move up to 10,200. Now, I will qualify that because I am nothing but consistent. That at the end of the day, I will do what my system tells me to, because that is how I make money, not prophesying about the market, because that doesn't typically work. However, based on my experience, that's what I expect to see. Doesn't mean we're going to get there overnight. Doesn't mean we're not going to have a couple red days. Doesn't mean, in a couple hours, as soon as I log off here and the FOMC comes out and says, money printer, go burr, baby, that we're not going to get a pullback. But I think that's more likely. I lack a very specific set of skills. All right, with that being said, guys, it is getting late. I got to go grab lunch before the community mentoring session. So let's head to the main scene and talk about some things before we get out. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Analysis, brought to you by the Cracking Crypto Premium Trading Group. If you guys want to sign up and sharpen your skills, trade along with us, receive access to all of our indicators, all of our analysis, all of our premium signals, as well as our new automated strategies and educational material, make sure to click the link in the description or head on over to premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com to trade with the crew. In other words, in other news, as I said, big updates this week. We're going to be having the community mentoring session for our premium members this day, in a couple hours or actually in less than an hour at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to be having presentations from both a senior analyst and a junior analyst today, so make sure to come out for that. Really excited. We're going to be talking about today's Bitcoin's price action. We'll talk about profit-taking strategies moving forward for this particular movement. We did just launch, as I said, if you guys are just tuning in, we did just launch Cybot, which is our first that's running for public signal generation, automated strategy. It signaled twice today, caught the 2-hour and the 4-hour long signal on Bitcoin's price movement today. So very happy. The first signal locking in 4% and the second signal locking in about 6% profit. So cooling off, no new signals today. We're going to be adding ETHUSD and XRP-USD on BitMEX to that very shortly, as well as about 20 Binance USDT pairs on Binance Margin. So it goes long and short. Of course, if you don't have access to Binance Margin, you can still take the long signals on spot Binance. Then we'll be adding BTC pairs on Binance, ETH pairs, and BNB pairs as well. So with that being said, guys, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for helping the show out. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. Otherwise, nobody knows that we exist, and you might not even know that we exist as much as you may like the show. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, sarcastic remarks, and or death threats, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to personally respond within the next 24 to 48 hours. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing each and every single one of you in the Discord at discord.crackingcryptocurrency.com. I will return tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time with all the news, analysis, and non-funny memes that you can possibly handle in the next episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Trade safely, everybody.